we were talking about tarot being more straightforward than art.
Yeah, with which places.
Yeah, to uncover your own inner imagination powers.
There's a very simple exercise that was suggested to me, God, when I was maybe 17, and I haven't been thorough enough, by the way, because I should have done it with all 78 cards. I didn't. But that's also because back then I was using a deck that didn't really allow for that. It's a very simple exercise. It's if you want to get a glimpse of what a card is about, a major arcana. Let's say the Empress.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get the vibe of the Empress, and you want to know what is it about, and you want to know, most importantly, because that's the whole point, what does the Empress have to say to you specifically? Like, how does she resonate with you? A very easy exercise that nobody does, and I assume that even people who know about this exercise don't do it most of the time, is to just go to bed, lie down, very still, visualize the card in your mind. Visualizing is not hard. There are people who, and I guess they do exist, people who say, I have aphantasia, I cannot visualize. To me, that seems like, I don't want to say anything controversial, but I think it's just everybody can visualize.
Yeah.
Like, we evolved to be
If
able
you
to
feel
do so.
shame about certain situation that happened at work, you are already visualizing,
Exactly.
and you're feeling shame.
Exactly. If you worry about the future, you're already visualizing things in your mind. So you visualize the Empress as well as you can. Doesn't need to be perfect, of course. Visualization is also a muscle that can be trained. So if you train it, you can visualize it as precisely as possible. And then you enter the card as if you are opening a door and entering it. Then you find yourself within the card. The Empress is in front of you. You get to turn around, look at what she's looking at. You get to walk around her, see what's behind her. And most importantly, you get to hear her speak. You get to ask her questions. You get to look at what she's doing. And this is something that brings you insights. It's because then it's your subconscious working with the image that you presented it. And suddenly that image, being very much archetypal, is providing you with the messages that are embedded in it. And you cannot get from the Empress the same message that you would get from the Devil. They are so very much different that it's impossible for your mind to somehow give you messages that are not related to the card itself. And this is a very simple exercise. It really takes you 20 minutes to do that, if you're thorough.
For me, if I had to answer this question, tarot cards and the whole reading session with a tarot reader or with a psychologist or psychotherapist, because I know that they sometimes use this as a method of talking to the client, that's a moment to stop and think. Because when you're working with a deck and let's say an Empress falls out or a Four of Coins, of Pentacles falls out, that's a moment for you to just stop and with assistance maybe even think, okay, so maybe you should stop being egotistical and think about your mother, for example, or your wife. Maybe it's that, the whole existence is now stopping you for a moment, for a couple of minutes, just to think not about yourself, but about your tendencies, like, I don't know, greediness, not being able to let go of things, Empress, Devil, whatever. And that's a way for people to stop constantly placing themselves in the center of the universe and knowing that there are more circumstances around that should be paid attention to. So why is it bad? Why is it evil?
Yeah, exactly.
My next question, and the biggest myth I want to debunk, is that tarot cards can predict or should predict the future. What do you have to say on this one?
I think that they can hint towards the most likely outcome. I'm not even against the idea that they can somehow let's say, predict the future in a way like this is what is most likely to happen. Because I've experienced that, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I, however, think that it's a very bad idea to get a tarot reading from someone who is talking to you as if that future is set in stone. That's why every time someone asks me for a reading, I tell them, don't ask me what's going to happen, but ask me, what can I do to make something happen? Like, what is the best course of action to reach a certain outcome? Because as much as there is an element of future telling, a lot of people tend to get stuck. If you tell them the cards tell me that this is going to happen, those people are cursing themselves by being like, okay.
And that's why they should never develop the habit of reading for outcomes.
Yeah. Because even if it does happen that I sometimes like draw a card, even just like, okay, how's it gonna be? I don't overdo it. I don't do a nine cards reading on what's going to happen, because it's still my choice to some extent. I can do a reading like, what are the obstacles that I'm going to face? What unexpected bumps in the road could I have to deal with? Will this person be somehow cooperative or hinder me? But I would not do a reading like what's going to happen, because what's going to happen still depends from me as well.
Yeah.
So why should I deny myself any agency on that matter by letting the cards tell me, yeah, this is what's going to be, deal with it?
There was an interesting situation that we had a few weeks ago when we actually did ask for the outcome.
Yeah.
That was not related to our light, but to an acquaintance of ours, and both of us at the same time
we drew the same card. Yeah.
It was 10 of Swords.
9.
Or 9 of Wands. What was
no, it was Swords. I think it was the 9 of Swords.
Which like the lady who's
the desperate lady. And the funny thing is that, we were not even together. I was at work, you were at home.
Yeah.
You were drawing the card from a physical deck. I was using the website Daily Tarot Draw. And I was clicking on the card the moment you were sending me the message with the photo of yours. And I hadn't even seen it yet.
Yeah.
And it was the 9 of Swords for both of us at the same time. Those are those situations in which, like, the thing is, I could make this video very family friendly and just say, magic, hermeticism, alchemy, tarot. It's all fancy words for psychology. But then why am I not talking about psychology? Like, if it's all fancy words for psychology, then I should have become a psychologist. There is a big element of psychology, but there's also an element of unexplainability. Like, things happen, call them coincidences or synchronicities, to quote Jung. These things happen. When I bought my first tarot deck, which was Crowley's deck, I remember shuffling and asking, okay, I was 17 at the time. I remember shuffling and asking, okay, which card represents me the most? And then I drew the card, and it was the Magician. And I was like, okay, I guess that's a happy coincidence. Let's try again. And then I shuffled again, and it was 78 cards, by the way. It was a full deck. And then I drew again, and it was the Magician.
For those who don't know, the Magician is not exactly the Magician. It's just a person on a journey of learning, usually a young one.
Yeah. It's someone who is exploring with the tools that he's given.
Yes.
And then I was like, okay, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do this 10 times. And if for 10 times I draw the Magician, then I'm going to give this a chance. I'm going to entertain the thought that maybe there is something to this. And I did it for 9 times. And it was always the Magician. And I was shuffling. I was shuffling well. At the 10th time, when I was like, okay, that's the moment of truth, I was shuffling and one card flew off. It jumped off and it fell on the floor, covered, so I couldn't see what it was. And I kept shuffling, and then I drew, and it was something like the 7 of Swords. And then I was like, aha, see, it doesn't work, because I said 10 times, didn't happen. So clearly this is all bullshit. It's all coincidences. And then I picked up the card that was on the floor, and it was the Magician. And that moment I realized that there is something to this, and it actually likes to play with us. Because the Magician pulling a prank like that is very much in line with the meaning of the card. It's a trickster. It's like, okay, you know what?
Let's play.
Let's play now.
Yeah, let's play now.
And ever since then, every time I get the Magician, at least in Crowley's deck, I know that it's like the deck is winking at me. It's like...
good to see you.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of the acquaintance of ours and the 10, the 9 of Swords that we both drew, we had to wait a couple of weeks before we knew that prognosis was exactly not very favorable. And we were both very surprised at it.
I mean, we weren't particularly surprised by the outcome because we saw it coming.
We saw it coming.
But at the same time, the fact that the deck itself was agreeing, like, yeah. And the thing is, of course, you shuffling your physical deck, you could have shuffled badly, you could have drawn the card because somehow this is trying to calculate all sorts of potentially outrageous, impossible theories, like maybe you know your deck so well that you can recognize the 9 of Swords from the back, which is, I know it's not the case. But the fact that I got it from a website, I had zero power over the outcome of that algorithm, and yet we both got it. That is fascinating.
What is the definition of prayer to you?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
For me, prayer is not done in the Christian sense. I don't think I've ever prayed in that sense. Like, no, well, not really, but I don't like the Catholic definition of prayer because very often it's like, I'm desperate and I want something, so please God, let it happen. I like the idea of prayer as an acknowledgement of something greater than us. Whether it's an entity, an idea, a concept. I like the definition of prayer as adoration. For instance, in the Golden Dawn tradition, you do the 4 adorations on a daily basis, and you do it when the sun is in a certain position. There are 4 adorations to the sun: the sun at dawn, the sun at midday, the sun at sunset, and the sun at midnight when it's hidden. There are 4 names for the sun, and you acknowledge it as the guiding light that moves the day forward. Because of course, it's the sun that tells us where we are standing now, both in our day and also in our season. Like the sun is lower in the winter, higher in the summer. The duration of the day tells you how close you are to the solstice or to the equinox. It's a prayer in the sense of an acknowledgement of the power of the significance of the sun and the symbolic significance of the sun. So for me...
So your understanding of prayer is more pagan? No.
Yes.
Yeah?
Actually, yes. Very much so. My understanding of prayer is an acknowledgement of the symbol that the entity represents.
Inquisition would not have approved of this.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
This is very bad. I mean, nowadays church would not.
the church would probably try to weasel its way around this claim by saying we too acknowledge God as this almighty figure. We don't pray to obtain something, we pray to glorify him. And that is true. They do that. Like good Christians do that.
Mhm.
Like a good Christian prays like a pagan. And this is very controversial as a claim.
Yes.
But that's because prayer is universal. If you're a Christian and you recite the Pater Noster to glorify the idea of God in heaven, you're not doing it because then God is happy and he gives you something. You're doing it because you are filled with love for God and his creation.
Mm.
If you go and have your sun adoration at midday, and you are acknowledging the symbol of the sun at midday as Ra, the sun who shines its light over everything and brings life to everything, you're not doing it so that the sun brings light to you more than to everyone else, because the sun shines equally on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it because you're like, I'm so glad that you are shining.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no real difference when you pray with devotion in an adoring way, whether you're Christian, pagan, Buddhist, or even Muslim. You're still doing it with a feeling of devotion that takes you beyond your needs.
Mm-hmm.
Your needs are no longer important as long as there is this graceful and honest acknowledgement of the beauty.
You saw me read my book
Yeah.
with my prayers a couple of times. What do you think of me when I do that?
I think that if it's something that gives you meaning to your devotion, then do it. I wouldn't. Or more like I would do it in a different way.
Yeah.
I would do it. I do it actually daily. You just don't see me do that. Like when I wake up, when it's sunrise, when it's midday, when it's sunset, when it's midnight. It's a quick thing in my mind, but I acknowledge it. I should be more vocal. I
Okay.
should go and be like, what is it in English? I salute thee, who are Ra at this moment. I just don't do it because I am not that pompous.
In my confession, which is Russian Orthodox Church, those prayers that most of them, some of them are glorifying the almightiness of God, but most of them, as far as I've noticed, are filled with mourning of those saints who had to suffer physically, and now they have to rejoice because they're in a different world somehow.
That's something that I understand, but at the same time, it's very bad to base a religion on that feeling, I think. It's the same, you've seen The Name of the Rose. That was a shade of Catholicism that was based on fear, on pain, on shame.
Yeah.
Shame was a big thing. Christianity is based on mourning because Christianity is the worship of a dead God, like of a God that is dead and then is born again. So there is this big element of mourning, which was also in paganism. Dionysus dies and is reborn. Osiris is dead and reborn. Christ is on the same vibration as those two gods. It's those solar gods who died and are born again. But paganism had different shades. Paganism had, let's say Greek paganism. You had Dionysus, who died and was born again. But then you had Mercury, who was the smartass doing his thing. You had Zeus, who was the family man, who also happened to be a serial cheater.
Yeah.
So you got, as a pagan, to pick the one that resonated the most with you. So you were like, no, you know what? I like the mourning and the liberation and the catharsis that comes from a God who is dead and born again. So I picked this.
Yeah, it's for a moment it crossed my mind how cool it would be and how interesting it would be if everybody in this world had their own God.
Yeah.
That they find interesting to worship. Let's use this word so far. But also the follow-up question here is, a lot of people confuse not belonging to a certain confession, such as not visiting the church in the most common way, and doing some practices like that are alternative, almost equivalent to, let's say, doing Satanism. So give me a few like rough ideas of what you think about it and how people are very wrong on regard of Satanism. So in the next video.
Okay. So first of all, disclaimer: I did meet some Satanists in my life, and I didn't like them. They are usually misguided.
When did this happen?
Works.
How did this happen?
I was 16 or so, 15, 16 years old. They were part of that esoteric potpourri that I met. Some of them were claimed to be Satanists. They were still more like, I don't know, Nietzsche fans who wanted to take it up a notch, because they were LaVeyan Satanists. Anton Sandor LaVey was an asshat who founded the Church of Satan in the 70s, I think. But the thing is, he wrote this book, like I don't even remember what it's called, like the Satanic Bible, something like that, which is pretty much just Nietzsche and Crowley crammed together and blended. And then with a splash of LSD, probably. It was nothing particularly nice. And they themselves were, I don't know. I guess there are still people like that are out there. Sure, whatever.
They're very plentiful in America.
Yeah.
Where Christianity is very strong too.
Yeah, because the thing with Satanism is that it's pretty much it's not a phase mom of Christianity. It's like you're still acting on a basis of Christianity. Like you're just taking it to you're reversing the color scheme of Christianity, but you're still acting within that framework. You just want to rebel instead of finding your own way. Christianity makes it very easy, by the way, to do that, because of course, if Christianity labels as Satanism everything, anything that is not Christianity, then it's very easy for people, even people with a genuine spiritual curiosity, to be like, okay, no, you're not, screw it, then I'm a Satanist. And then you're like, I'm gonna scare you off just by being a Satanist. The thing is, Satanism is its own thing, but tarot,
but a very twisted one.
It's most of the time it's very twisted, yes.
Because they position themselves in the world of people who are spiritual, I guess, as free from the dogma.
Yes, except they are dogmatic as hell. Pun not intended, but also yes. Every Satanist I've met was dogmatic as hell. Because they, even in the rejection of dogma, they still act in ways that they're very much fueled by peer pressure. So they're like, oh, I believe in nothing. Oh yeah, me too. I believe in nothing so much. What do you believe in? Well, I believe in something. Oh no, sorry, I too believe in nothing. So it's this kind of like, if you're not iconoclastically anti-dogmatic.
Explain iconoclastically, because not everybody will understand.
Like you tear down every kind of pre-existing ideology, except in doing so you become so dogmatic that you cannot even acknowledge that maybe some things make sense to you. Like actually, as you read through books, you're like, well, no, this actually it makes sense to me. You're not allowed to, because you're supposed to be constantly tearing down everything. And that's a dogma. You become dogmatic as you do that. And it's tiring. Becoming curious about everything, but not really committing to anything. And commitment is not the same thing as adopting a dogma. It's just this path makes sense to me, so I want to see where it leads me. That's what commitment is on a spiritual path.
Of course, this world would be very hard to control. I mean, if everybody believed in their own deity.
No, actually, it wouldn't be hard to control. Why do I need to control it? That's what happened in ancient Greece. the Hellenistic period, late Roman era, people had there were so many different religions. So many. People believed in all sorts of things. The thing is, what you believe in, what you worship, shouldn't actually in any way impact your ability to still live within a society. Exactly. Actually, it's Christianity who decided to merge religion and society and turn it into one thing, because that way it was much easier to control everybody with fear.
With fear, like what's that quote from Name of the Rose from yesterday? You cannot believe in God unless you have fear.
Yes, laughter banishes fear, and if you do not have fear, how can you fear God?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best way to fear God in your understanding?
Why should you fear God?
Yeah,
I never understood that. You know, I never understood why people should fear God. You should fear the storm. You should fear the thunder.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, pagans were like, oh my God, a storm is coming. We need to make sure that Zeus is not angry at us. So maybe let's sacrifice a veal to him. You should fear what can hurt you, and you should prevent that thing from hurting you. But if you're talking about God, like the God in the monotheistic sense, the one that is beyond Kether in the tree of life, the one that is unknowable, why should you fear what you cannot even understand?
So interesting. When I knew less about tarot, when I was biased, because of course some of the things were just knocked into my head by the church. It was some sort of fear of God that I was having, that I'll be probably doing, just be sinful about just shuffling the deck for better understanding of my own self.
There's a nice definition of sin, which regrettably I read on Crowley's Magic book, the book called Magic. It's a nice observation that he does about how in ancient religions, sin was anything that would upset you spiritually. It was like the Ten Commandments: don't kill, don't steal, don't desire that someone else's woman, don't cheat. Why are those sins? Not because you're going to hell, but because deep down in our own moral compass, we know that those things are fundamentally wrong. Taking what is not yours, you know you're doing something wrong. Killing, taking another life, you know you're doing something wrong. This is going to haunt you. Sin is what haunts you. And this is something that ironically frees you from sin very much. Because suddenly you know that it's not sinful to read the tarot. It's sinful to kill another person. And suddenly you know it's not on the same level. And with that knowledge, you also understand which kind of sin is a tool of control from the church, and which one was the original sin, the one that you really shouldn't do. So you see how, but it requires, of course, you need to become a heretic before you can become a devout follower of anything.
Yeah. Okay.